Hello guys, happy Wednesday. Here I am. Boy, we've had snowy night, and I have some pictures today to show you guys from all around. Pictures from our place, pictures from other people's place in Colorado. A man gonna talk about Colorado, all the inches of snow they received last night. So I got a lot to go over today. We're gonna be going to some more news, but some more visions and dreams. I'm sure you guys might have heard of Pastor Dana had another dream about the, he had a few dreams, but I'm going to be pointing to the one on the Liberty Bell, the Liberty statue, up in the east of the country. I'm going to be showing that one, and then also we're going to get over to A Minute to Midnight, have a special guest where he's talking about things coming that they planning. So I listen to these things and I say, it's amazing how the devil keep planning. But Yeshua is planning. He's planning. He say, I go to prepare a place for you, so where I am you may be also. So we're not to get worried, we're not to let our hearts be troubled, but we need to be watching, as he said to watch. So I'm just watching and praying. And then we're gonna go over to some other things going on. I'm just gonna pretty much let that Minute to Midnight video be the main video here for today, and then I'm going to go over to a song right now before I get into all the other news, quakes, and we got storms in the sea and all these things going on. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead on and play a song from Zema Lavav, and then I'm going to go on into the snow going on around here in Colorado and show some pictures, and then we'll get into some news from Israel and things of that nature. So let me go ahead and do that now. This is my fair use notice, so you guys can be aware of the things going on. I know you're probably looking at the news, but let's go ahead and play Fall on Your Knees by Zema Lavav, and then we'll get on over there. Let me go ahead and mute this out.
The weapons of our warfare are not physical. The weapons of our warfare are spiritual. With them we can pull down strongholds, the strongholds of the enemy. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against dark princes and the powers of the air. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against dark princes and powers and wickedness in high places, against wickedness in high places. Fall on your knees before the mighty one. Fall on your knees before the Holy One. Fall on your knees before the King of Kings. Fall on your knees and pray. Be strong to run the race that you may gain the prize. Fight not as one who beats the air. Discipline yourselves, don't be cast away. Win an incorruptible crown. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, mighty one. Fall on your knees before the Holy One. Fall on your knees before the King of Kings. Fall on your knees and pray. Fall on your knees before the mighty one. Fall on your knees before the Holy One. Fall on your knees before the King of Kings. Fall on your knees and
Wow, wow, what a voice, what a voice, what a voice. I sing behind these guys, girls all the time. I love their music so much, their song so much. In the description box, I always put things in the description box if you want to know how to get their music. I know I go to christianbook.com and find a lot of their material there. So I'm going to go here now and go over to an article I want to show you guys. Wow, about this Colorado snow. And, you know, I think I was looking at this, they showing the Colorado snow totals. And then I was looking at another article before I play that. I think I seen that on somebody else's website and got the link, and I can't remember now, but they're talking about the coming year without summer, coming from 444 News. And he says here, the coming year without a summer, comparing dreams and visions. But he got down here, Ecclesiastes 1:9, the thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, it is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. And Mark 13:18, and pray ye that your flight be not in the winter. And in Matthew 18:16, King James Version, but if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the month of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. So he says here, I heard about the year without a summer from my dad growing up. After reading and watching some recent visions and dreams, I believe we are about to experience it once again. Prayerfully consider the following. So he got here, volcanic winter, caused year without a summer on April 10, 1815. Volcanic Mount Tambora erupted and dropped temperatures by, oh wow, -4.7 Celsius. I'm not probably saying that right. 32.7, and so you can see 3 degrees, -7 worldwide. Volcanic winter is a reduction in global temperatures caused by volcanic ash and droplets of sulfuric acid and water obscuring the sun and raising Earth's albedo, increasing the reflection of solar radiation after a large, particularly explosive volcanic eruption, coming from Wikipedia. So he's got this article here, and I got something to show you. I will let you guys go and see the vision later. I will put the description in the description box, this whole thing in the description box. But we know we may be having a coming year without summer. I don't know. I just know a lot of things are going on. So let me go ahead and show you some pictures here. Let me show you some pictures here that I got here to show you. Yeah, let me go here. That's a picture from our front yard. And then we have, my husband took them this morning. And then one other facing our yard here in the back at the little mountain top over across from us. And then we got some others here I'm going to show you. Let me go ahead and get them here. Coming from some neighbors. And this is like from a neighbor. I think she's right around the corner from me, really. And I didn't know they had this much snow around the corner, but it's another neighbor, and so this is out in the country, way out in the mountains, really, out near the San de Cristo Valley, where we used to live, San de Cristo Mountains. And they just had a lot of snow today, people. This is the property out there. And so we had they got a lot of snow, and so now we got more snow coming tonight, and tonight I think late tonight, 10 o'clock, after 10 o'clock I think they said. So I just wanted to share those with you guys and thought you would like seeing those. So let me go on over here now and talk about this snow again, the one I want to show you here, and then I'm going to get on over into some other news. So and I think before I get into the other news, let me go ahead and click this on real quick, because I was looking at this morning. You know, over the Labor Day weekend, this was horrible. We had a Chicago violence, 51 shot, 10 fatally in Labor Day weekend shootings, people. And a child was killed and 3 others injured in the South Shore shootings. And it was just horrible things that went on there in Chicago. There's always something going on in Chicago. So I'm going to go ahead and mute it out and play this, and then I will get on to the other news as well following, okay? And then the next time you hear my voice, it'll be probably when I get into the end of this video and we go to Maranatha, the Lord is coming. And I have a title today called Prejudice on the Increase. And you know, I thought that was really amazing for the Holy Spirit to pick that out for today, because I never even went to that page before. And it's talking about prejudices and racism, all this racism going on. This is what's going on in Chicago and a lot of other places. All this Black Lives Matter, and I say all lives matter. God created every creature. So, you know, we get all hung up into this stuff, you know, and it's not the right thing to do and the right place to be, people. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this short video. Let me mute it out.
Sharing my condolences to the family of 8-year-old DeJour Wilson, who was senselessly shot and killed last night. Getting notified about another child being a victim of gun violence is one of the most painful experiences, not only as a law enforcement professional, but also as a parent. We are once again asking for the community's help and partnership to bring this killer to justice. It is because of the community's willingness to step forward that we've been able to identify, arrest, and charge violent gun offenders over the past several months. Clearance rates for homicides so far this year are at 41%, but we need to get the clearance rates for homicide over 70%, and we cannot do that without the community's help. So please come forward with any information you have to help us solve this homicide of DeJour and any others that you have information about. As frustrating and painful as these incidents can be, our resolve as a police department and as a city must remain strong. Our entire department, all of our officers have worked tirelessly to remove guns and violent offenders from our neighborhoods. Chicago Police Department, its officers have taken 7,000 303 guns off the streets of Chicago so far this year. Over the Labor Day weekend, officers have recovered 201 guns just over Labor Day. I'm gonna say that again. Just over the Labor Day weekend, our officers recovered over 200 guns, making 146 gun arrests. And yet, illegal gun possession cycles in and out of our courts. Catch and release, they call it. It's a damn shame. These results have not been without its share of risk and harm to our officers. So far this year, a total of 60 officers have been shot or shot at. 10 shot of the 60. This includes an officer who was discharged from the hospital just last week after being shot on August 30th and is now recovering at home. An additional 563 officers have been physically assaulted in 2020. I'm gonna say that again. An additional 563 officers have been physically assaulted in 2020, including an officer who was stabbed in her ballistic vest during this past weekend's officer-involved shooting. 880 officers have tested positive for COVID-19 so far this year. 880 have tested positive for COVID. 3 officers have died from COVID this year. Chicago should not question the dedication, commitment, bravery, and courage of its police officers. From 6 p.m. Friday through 11:59 Monday, there were 38 shooting incidents, 51 shooting victims, and 10 murders. Of those 51 shooting victims, 6 were juveniles, and tragically, this 8-year-old was fatally shot. De jour. Now I would like to turn it over to Chief of Detective Brendan Denahan to provide updates on several ongoing investigations. Brendan.
Thanks, Superintendent. Just to echo what the superintendent had already stated, it's terrible to stand up here and talk about another child being killed, an 8-year-old this time. And once again, we're asking for the community's help to solve this case. So I think some of the news outlets already put out some information. The detectives released a seeking to identify bulletin regarding this black Dodge Charger that is the offending vehicle. So please, we're asking everybody from the community to look at this car and to talk to people in the community. We believe in the detective division that people know who committed this offense, and now we need that information, and we need people to come forward to help solve this crime. So please take a look at that vehicle, and please communicate with Area 1 Detective Division to give us information to help assist. I also know that there's been some questions on the individual that was killed at the Walgreens, and there's a suspect in custody for that. And we are working very closely with the state's attorney's office, and we do expect charges sometime later today, but we have more work to do with the state's attorney's office in order to secure those charges.
Woodman Nissan didn't TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel discussed a deepening of relations with the African Republic of Chad as Premier Netanyahu hosts Chad's cabinet chairman Abdelkarim Deby in Jerusalem. Russia is set to expand its offshore gas drillings in the eastern Mediterranean following a bilateral agreement with Syria. The leaders of Iran and Turkey hold a virtual council meeting during which they pledge to deepen bilateral cooperation vis-à-vis regional problems. Israel and the United Arab Emirates are set to ratify the recently announced normalization accord in a signing ceremony at the White House next Tuesday, September the 15th. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Emirati Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, are scheduled to travel to the American capital, where U.S. President Donald Trump will oversee the signing of the agreement, marking an official start of normalized relations between Jerusalem and Abu Dhabi. Both the Emirati Foreign Ministry and the Israeli Prime Minister's office confirmed the anticipated event, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu writing, quote, "I'm proud to leave next week to Washington at President Trump's invitation to participate in an historic ceremony for the establishment of peace between Israel and the United Arab Emirates." Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Premier Netanyahu hosted Chad's cabinet chairman Abdelkarim Deby and head of Chad's intelligence service Ahmed Kogri, during which discussions focused on the opening of respective diplomatic representation in both countries, among other topics of mutual interest.
Very good to see you.
Likewise.
And
Likewise,
please, the most important thing is give my warmest regards to Father
I will do so.
and to the people of Chad. I mentioned our relations in the discussions about beginning the peace with the Emirates, and I mentioned it, and I want to do more than mention it. I want to be able to advance it even further.
According to the Prime Minister's office, the possibility for Chad to open an embassy in Jerusalem was also discussed. Furthermore, the meeting entailed a wide variety of topics of mutual interest, including the war on terror, cyber, water, and agriculture. Turning now to Israel's northern neighbor Lebanon, where Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte concluded an official trip to Beirut. During his visit, which included a series of meetings with Lebanese officials, and separately, a review of the more than 1,070 Italian troops that are stationed in the country as part of the Unifield Task Force, Premier Conte added Rome's voice to Paris, Washington, and other international capitals, which demand for crucial reform to be implemented immediately within Lebanon's governing institutions that are plagued by deep-rooted corruption.
Ovviamente, perché il nostro sostegno possa essere efficace, occorre che ci sia un grande senso di responsabilità da parte delle autorità in particolare e una grande coesione nazionale verso una direzione condivisa, un percorso riformatore. L'emergenza, l'ho detto appena adesso parlando anche alle forze armate, l'emergenza qui è a tutto tondo, un'emergenza che si trascina da tempo già finanziario, un'emergenza sociale, un'emergenza che poi è esplosa con la pandemia sanitaria, adesso c'è un'emergenza anche dovuta all'esplosione, alla tragedia del 4 agosto, all'esplosione del porto, c'è una grandissima sofferenza da tutti i punti di vista. Se ne può uscire solo con un patto politico forte, un patto tra le migliori forze della società, le migliori forze politiche, sociali, culturali ed economiche.
In related news, the U.S. State Department released a statement last night in which it announced that for too long, Lebanon's political leaders have ignored their responsibility to address the needs of their people and instead built a political system that serves their private interests. In its statement, Washington further accused Lebanon's dysfunctional political system, as it put it, of enabling a terrorist group, namely the Iranian proxy Hezbollah, to hold the country's governance hostage to its own agenda. However, in support of the Lebanese people's call for reform, The United States pledged to use all available authorities to promote accountability for Lebanese leaders who have failed their people. Consequently, the U.S. State Department announced that it is designating two former Lebanese ministers, Yusuf Finyanous and Ali Hassan Khalil, to its list of sanctioned individuals pursuant to Executive Order 13224, which provides a legal foundation to block property and prohibit transactions with persons who commit, threaten to commit, or support terrorism. The U.S. State Department explained its decision by unveiling that while holding positions in previous Lebanese cabinets, Finyanous and Khalil directed political and economic favors to Hezbollah, including ensuring Hezbollah-owned companies won government contracts worth millions of dollars and moving money from government ministries to Hezbollah-associated institutions. Turning now to Syria, where a senior Russian delegation headed by Moscow's Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Borisov and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov concluded an official visit to Damascus. The trip culminated with a series of bilateral agreements in the sectors of finance, infrastructure, energy, and offshore gas exploration.
Тем не менее, новое соглашение, которое сегодня мы прорабатываем, имеет целью восстановления около 40 объектов, в том числе и энергетической инфраструктуры. В частности, это каскад гидроэлектростанций, которые в свое время были построены еще советскими специалистами, и возобновление добычи шельфовых месторождений. Соглашение с одним из эконом-операторов уже подписано и ждет ратификации.
The Russian Deputy Prime Minister further condemned the United States and other Western countries for sanctioning Syria over atrocities committed during the years-long civil war.
Экономическая изоляция Сирии и принятие акта Цезаря подтверждение тому. Сегодня практически эти действия не позволяют инвестициям быть привлеченным в сирийскую экономику. И, по сути дела, это блокада, это деструктивная позиция, в первую очередь, Соединенных Штатов и стран Запада, которую мы пытаемся сегодня совместными усилиями прорвать.
Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim welcomed Russia's growing economic investments in the war-torn country, which seemingly aim to expand Moscow's interests in the Assad regime. Nevertheless, the Damascus top diplomat insisted that the latest agreement, which deepens Syria's reliance on Russia as well, is not politically motivated.
أولاً لا ربط بين الاقتصاد والعلاقات السياسية. علاقاتنا الاقتصادية تنمو وتتطور فيما يحقق مصلحة الشعبين السوري والروسي. وأنا قلت في مداخلتي الأولى أنني متفائل وأبشر شعبنا بأن الوضع الاقتصادي العام سوف يجد تحسناً خلال الأيام والأشهر القادمة.
Turning to the Turkish capital Ankara, where a virtual council meeting between the Turkish president Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his Iranian counterpart Hassan Rouhani was held, in which, per Turkey's communications directorate, all aspects of bilateral relations between Turkey and Iran were reviewed, and steps aimed at further enhancing the cooperation in light of the new circumstances caused by the coronavirus pandemic were discussed. The statement added that both sides exchanged views on bilateral relations, as well as regional and international matters at the meeting.
Türkiye ve İran diyaloğu birçok bölgesel sorunun çözümünde belirleyici role sahiptir. Salgın şartlarının hafiflemesiyle beraber işbirliğimizin tekrar eski seviyelerine geleceğine inanıyorum.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, regime spokesman Ali Rabi insisted that the American efforts to snap back sanctions against the Islamic Republic after Washington officially informed the United Nations Security Council of its decision to do so under Resolution 2231 would not have an effect on Iran itself, but rather it would further isolate the United States.
ما فکر میکنیم در 20 سپتامبر هیچ اتفاقی نخواهد افتاد جز تداوم زورگویی‌های نامشروع و شکست خورده و البته انزوای بیشتر خود آمریکا.
Tehran's wishful thinking apparently pertains to vocal opposition by members of the Security Council to the American move.
ما هیچ علامتی در دنیا نسبت به همسویی با آمریکا ملاحظه نمی‌کنیم. اعضای شورای امنیت با صدای بلند به آمریکا گفتند هیچ حقی در بازگرداندن تحریم‌های پیشین نداره.
It is important to explain that the United States initiated the restoration of virtually all UN sanctions on Iran lifted under UN Security Council Resolution 2231 when it formally notified the world body of its decision on the 21st of August, which initiated a 30 days countdown to the imposition of global sanctions. While members of the Security Council may voice their refusal by attempting to block the American decision, any such attempt would be contested by the United States, which reserves veto rights as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. Thank you for watching us. As part of TV7's prayer initiative, I would like to encourage you today to join myself and the team here in Jerusalem to lift up Chad in prayer for its salvation and peace, in addition to our ongoing prayers, of course, for the peace of Jerusalem, the salvation of Israel, as well as for all those who are impacted by the corona contagion and its economic ramifications worldwide. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Tov Umevorach, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.
7, an update to what's going on in California as we have red flag warnings being declared all over the place. The military being used to come in and rescue people. You were looking at a shot here. This is near what they were calling the Creek Fire. It absolutely exploded. It caught people off guard and it trapped them, where helicopters had to come in and get these people out. Now, I want to put things into perspective. We hear about fires happening on the West Coast and in California every year. In 2019, last year, there were 4,900 fires. This year, so far, there are 7,600 fires. Here, three quarters of the way through the year, we're well past the marker of last year's numbers in total. And when you look at the acres burned, last year there was 118,000 acres burned. 118,000. This year, 2.3 million burned. They are burning people out of California and off the West Coast. Whether you want to be there or not, this is some of the stuff that's happening. And over here on the headlines, you can see just satellite imagery showing the shots, the smoke rising from the area. If you're on the ground in the region, the sky looking like this. A fiery reddish orange compared to normal. And the news just continually showing here how bad it looks in the area. So the sun rose this morning, and you really could not tell because of the fires. Now, some of this stuff looks like bombs going off in the offing, but they are the fires that are ravaging this area. I will leave a link. I'll continue to update with more. Follow me on DLive.
I'm meteorologist Tim Pandages here with your tropical update. Before we get into things, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And at the end of the video, if you like what you saw, hit that like button as well. We got plenty of videos coming out daily. And when there's active storms threatening the United States, multiple throughout each day for you there. A lot to talk about. We're one day out from the peak, the climatological peak of hurricane season, which is tomorrow, September 10th. Currently in the Atlantic Basin, there are 2 named storms with 2 other tropical waves, one of which has a high likelihood of being the next name on the list, which would be Sally. Broad overview of the Atlantic Basin, a lot of activity out there, a lot of convection, a lot of thunderstorm activity, and some of those thunderstorms have organized enough to get names. We have Paulette and Renee. Paulette is the farthest west right now, and this is battling some dry air, and it's battling a lot of wind shear too. On infrared imagery like we're viewing here, it's not all that evident. It looks pretty healthy with the thunderstorm activity. Cold cloud tops around that center. You can see that by the white shadings and the black. That means those thunderstorms are vertically structured, higher in the atmosphere, colder cloud top temperatures, stronger storms. But when we switch things up and show you the visible satellite imagery, different picture here. We can see the evidence of wind shear, pretty obvious, where we can see the exposed low-level center with all the convection activity being offset or blown to the northeast thanks to southwesterly wind shear. We call this a tilted system thanks to that wind shear, and it's moderate right now. It is expected to get even a little bit stronger by the end of the week, but then drop off a bit. That's why the intensity forecast for Paulette is kind of a hard forecast here, because with its slow movement and the wind shear, it's probably going to level off where it currently is. But once that wind shear drops off, we could see a brief burst of intensification as it moves to the north and west. And by that point in the forecast time frame, by the end of the weekend, this puts Bermuda in its crosshair. So right now looking like a possible threat to Bermuda by early next week, say by Monday afternoon, Monday evening. At this point in time in the forecast, is the far end of that forecast cone. We're up to 60-mile-an-hour winds of a tropical storm. Now, with this cone of uncertainty is what we call it, the cone gets larger the farther out you go because the confidence is lower. So technically, the center of that storm can track anywhere within this forecast cone, could track farther to the north and east, completely missing Bermuda, or even move to the south of it, or go straight into Bermuda by the time we get to early next week. So certainly bears watching there if you're watching us from Bermuda. How do the computer models see things? What I'm going to show you here is the GFS ensemble. It's the GFS model. The American model run 21 different times with 21 members, and what we do with that is we change the initialization, the starting point, the variables just slightly to get a different outcome. Pretty good agreement here early on, probably for the next 24, 36 hours. But then notice what happens. There gets a larger and larger spread, more divergence the farther you get out in time. That mimics why that cone of uncertainty is larger the farther out you go, because the uncertainty grows the farther out in time you get. And this is a pretty good example of that with the GFS ensemble, showing a wide spread of possible scenarios or solutions to this storm as it goes farther out in the forecast time frame. Now,
Hello, everybody. It is 3:46 p.m. Central Time on the 9th of September, 2020. It's Wednesday here in the United States. If we sound okay, let me know in Twitch. I know we were having some audio issues earlier today. People reported if you're on Twitch, quickly just press 1 if we sound okay. I'm going to keep going, though, as we go along. Everybody on YouTube, everybody on Facebook, word up, much love. We are here to talk about seismic events. And if you don't know what we're looking at Earthquake 3D, the program, which you guys can get a free copy of or a paid version. I don't get anything for recommending it. But you should use a program to keep track of the earthquakes. We're looking at about 48 hours worth of activity right now. And we're using the USGS and EMSC out of Europe just to give us a good broad swath of the activity that struck. The USGS does not report all the earthquakes internationally, especially 4.0 and greater. They miss a lot. And so we're looking at the earthquakes 48 hours, and the ones that are raised high off the globe or higher off the globe, these are deep earthquakes down below the plate. And the higher they are off the globe, the deeper they are down into the earth. It's going to look like a lot of activity because it is. This is a lot of activity in the past few days. In the last 4 days, we've had 7 different 6.0s and greater. And in the last 9 days, we've had 10. And really, there was an additional one that struck last night, making it 11, but they did some weird downgrading. I got reports sent to me by people in Philippines, all kinds of news agencies, even CNN of all places, covering a 6.3 that struck here in the Philippines last night. But you look on the screen here and you're going to see a 5.8. The Filipino agency is the one, PhilVox was the one that's reporting it. I trust their assessment. Why would the USGS come in and do a crazy multiple, well, almost a magnitude downgrade almost? Why would they do that? Well, I think that they're starting to get worried that people are going to get worried. And, you know, having 8 different 6s in the past 4 days means something's going on. Well, I mean, even just a few, get 3 in a few days' time means something's going on in the region where all the 6s are happening. But the 6s are happening all the way from the Mid-Atlantic Ridge over here. Let me get them all on the screen here. Hold on. There we go. So these are the locations where the 6s are. You see 1 here and 1 here and 1 here and 1 here and 1 here. Well, we can add in more at each location, but you see where they're happening. So it's on both sides of the Pacific and both sides of the planet going over to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Oh, hold on one second, guys. Sorry. All right, out you go, bro. That was Mr. Gadget. He was apparently sleeping under a blanket. I didn't see. Okay, wonderful. It's a kitty. Gotta get the kitty in here. All right. Let's carry on. So multiple 6s striking around the plate indicates that there's something going on down below the plate, and the Pacific plate being the plate in question. Everybody knows about the Ring of Fire, but we do not normally see 7 in a couple days. Might get 2 or 3 in a week, maybe? Some weeks we don't get any 6.0 and greater. And to have it all clustered in like that means we're on the edge of something bigger than the multiple 6s that are striking. Now, the spots that we watch gets into earthquake forecasting, and you guys, if you want to know how to forecast an earthquake, I've put out a full video explaining the step-by-step method how to forecast an earthquake, titled How to Forecast an Earthquake by Dutch Sense. Well, you guys can go repeat the method. We look between our sets of big quakes, and so we have a big set of quakes here, big set of quakes here, big set of quakes here on the coast of Chile, and big set of quakes out here on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Well, that halfway point between all of it, well, you would think it would be in the middle of the Pacific, right? Well, we're going to go over to the western side where all the arrows point. And we find our middle points between our sets of earthquakes for the most likely large release to take place. And I would say Papua New Guinea is most likely one of the locations we would need to keep an eye on over the next few days for a potential larger release than all these 6s combined. And that goes way up. I mean, when we combine them all, and the whole planet, we start to get up to the upper 7 range. Now, Aussies, you guys moved down here on the south edge of, see this green versus tannish color? This is the southern arm of an interior portion of one of your quote-unquote cratons. Multiple interior plates make up the interior portion of Australia, and this is one of them. Makes a bend and goes up to the north and down to the south, and there's a basin. It's a very small leftover remnant of an old portion of I think a compacted other plate that used to exist down to the south. I don't know, it's just a guess on my part. But anyway, you got a new earthquake there. That's the final roundup on what happened over the past week and a half. This is a big deal for me. I issued a warning for a rare 5.0 earthquake to strike in Australia last week. And what happened? A 4.9 hit. In Australia, right here, right south of a volcanic province right here, which is a bunch of old volcanoes. After that earthquake hit, I said watch down to the southeast and down to the southwest, and then the next day, southeast and southwest got hit. The only spot left to go was the middle, and I had warned near Oularu, or Lura, or Oularu, or what, Ayers Rock. We warned near Ayers Rock up here at the middle, but I'll take this. This is down in the middle of the plate, so all sides of Australia moved in the last week and a half since your 4.9. As we go over to the west, check it out, China, no earthquakes. Russia, yet no earthquakes. Uh-oh. Wonder what that means. Do you think Mother Nature just stops at the borders? I mean, we're right here at the border. I mean, do you think Mother Nature stops at the borders? Or do we just get into a place where we're not getting the seismic data coming out of certain areas in the world for days on end? Which do you think is more likely? Mother Nature finding the border of a place and sparing China or Russia, or not reporting earthquakes? So we have to assume, and sometimes assuming makes an ass between you and me, but in this case, we can logically assume that there is seismic activity going across 2 continents, and that where the arrows are previous examples of where we see earthquakes progress across from here to here. So I would think if we've got a bunch of 4s here, we should have a bunch of 4s going back across Siberia and North China. But hey, we need to watch the middle of this big open silent zone just in case it really is radio silent and Mother Nature did find the borders of China and Russia. But I would still watch here, east of...
Okay, guys, I'm going to stop there because his report is long. It's long. But I do want you to be aware of it because he talked about this rare earthquake in New Jersey. So you can go and play some more of that and hear about that. I don't have time because I got to get over to this America. It's not Mystery Babylon, America. Well, you know, you can believe whatever you like to believe. I believe that Mystery Babylon is America. And we've been having all these things go on to show us that it is America. And so, you know, if you don't want to believe it, you don't have to believe it. You know, you have your own freedom of rights to believe whatever you please, okay? I believe that America is Mystery of Babylon. I'm going to end this video, but I want to run here real quickly. It just came in my spirit. And I'm just going to go here. Like I say, you can play this video 3 times. You can just go to part 1, part 2, part 3. I mean, I just think it takes just as much time to make a 20-minute video as it does an hour-and-a-half video. So all these things you have to do to make videos. So just bear with me. Play a little bit at a time, okay, or whatever you want to do. But this is what's on my mind. Babylon, the fall of Babylon, okay. After these things, okay, let me go ahead and make that darker. After these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. And you know, you can go ahead and read it on down, okay, to verse 10. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works. In the cup which she has mixed double for her, in the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow. For she says in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and will not see sorrow. Therefore her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judges her. The kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived luxuriously with her will weep and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. And if you go on and read on and on and on, people, these angels are trying to warn these messengers before you right now. If you go to Revelation 8, and I'm not going to do it long here, 10 to 13, well, I don't know. It's just time to preach. It's just time to really preach, people. And the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the water because it was made bitter, as the one lady said the other day I showed you on my channel. Then the fourth angel sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them was darkened. A third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. The last one here. And I looked, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the remaining blast of the trumpet of the 3 angels who are about to sound. I told you, I don't know if we're going to have a trumpet sound on the Feast of Trumpets coming not far away on the 19th or on a Sabbath. Some people do it the 16th, but we don't know, people. We just have to keep praying and watching. And I'm going to go on over here fastly to Revelation 16, 18 to 21, okay? 18 to 21. Let's go ahead and do it, people. I'm tired. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to live tomorrow. I am preaching today, okay? Just a little bit. That's just a little bit to get you guys' eyes open, okay? And they gathered them together to the place called in Hebrew, what do you call it here? Armageddon. Then the seventh angel pulled out his bowl into the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done. It is done." And there was noises and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such a mighty and great earthquake as had not occurred since men was on the earth. Hallelujah. So we got all these things going on before us right now. Dutch sense is talking. He don't even know why they're not reporting the quakes. He don't know why things are so silent and quiet. You heard the guy from Minute to Midnight talk about how they have these plans, okay? Now the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. You do not want to be here doing God's wrath. Then every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. I seen this in a vision myself. Every mountain was fallen into the sea. Every island fled away. The world reeled and rocked like a drunken man. I seen it myself. And great hail from heaven fell upon men. Each hailstorm about the weight of a talent. Men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, since that plague was exceedingly great. And people, we are getting ready for it. We're getting ready for this to hit the earth anytime. We need to be getting ready, giving our life to Messiah Yeshua. I'm going to go ahead and go on over here to Maranatha. The Lord is coming and close this out. But I'm telling you, I could preach another hour with all the stuff going on. I don't know, Pastor Dana, if we're going to have a revival. I think it's going to be a revival in heaven. I think heaven we're going to have the revival. I don't know, because all these things are happening and people are not paying any mind. People are not paying it any mind. So I really will pray for America. Pray for yourself. Pray for your children. Pray for the nations, people. It's just getting so close, so close, so close. So let me go on over here and play this. I'm going to mute it out. Oh, boy. Hallelujah. Have mercy on us, Father. Have mercy on us. Oh, hallelujah. Okay, let me go ahead and mute.
May 14, prejudice on the increase. Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death. 1 John 3, 13 and 14. He who is closely connected with Christ is lifted above the prejudice of color or caste. His faith takes hold of eternal realities. The divine author of truth is to be uplifted. Our hearts are to be filled with the faith that works by love and purifies the soul. The work of the Good Samaritan is the example that we are to follow. It will be impossible to adjust all matters regarding the color question in accordance with the Lord's order until those who believe the truth are so closely united with Christ that they are one with Him. Both the white and the colored members of our churches need to be converted. There are some of both classes who are unreasonable, and when the color question is agitated, they manifest unsanctified, unconverted traits of character. Quarrelsome elements are easily aroused in those who, because they have never learned to wear the yoke of Christ, are opinionated and obstinate. In such, self clamors with an unsanctified determination for the supremacy. As time advances and race prejudices increase, it will become almost impossible in many places for white workers to labor for the colored people. Sometimes the white people who are not in sympathy with our work will unite with colored people to oppose it, claiming that our teaching is an effort to break up churches and to bring in trouble over the Sabbath question. White ministers and colored ministers will make false statements, arousing in the minds of the people such a feeling of antagonism that they will be ready to destroy and to kill. The powers of hell are working with all their ingenuity to prevent the proclamation of the last message of mercy among the colored people. Satan is working to make it most difficult for the gospel minister and teacher to ignore the prejudice that exists between the white and the colored people. Let us follow the course of wisdom. Let us do nothing that will unnecessarily arouse opposition, nothing that will hinder the proclamation of the gospel message.
Okay, people, that's it for today. I'm going to go. I thank you for bearing with me watching. Wow, just so much of this racism going on. So much of this stuff is happening all over the lands. We know that we are in the end at the end. Ellen G. White talked about that. She said we're going to be many riots and many racism and all this stuff going to rise up at the end bigger than before. And it's absolutely is happening right now. So I want to thank you guys for all your offerings, that you help send in to help the homeless, the orphans, the widows, and those in need in mission fields. May Yahuwah richly bless each and every one of you guys for your givings. We was out today a little while. My mouse is not working here. I don't know what happened. My mouse ain't working, honey. Anyway, I was out today and was talking to the people today. Okay, I got it working now. And so, but anyway, it's cold out, and they say some people came by and gave them some warm clothing last night. And so they pretty much, when we went by today, didn't need a whole lot today, really. So we was glad to see them and check on them. We had some things in the car to give them if we needed to. But I just really want to thank you guys for the donations, okay? So this is our donation website, fmcmi.org. And then also you can go and mail in donations to Fill My Cup Ministries, Post Office Box 414, Canyon City, Colorado, 81215. Or you can mail in or ship things in, at Fill My Cup Ministries, 1501 Main Street, number 414, Canyon City, Colorado, 81212. So I'm going to let you guys go. I know it's been quite a long video. But I tell you, all this snow is coming back. Coming back, people. It's coming back tonight, and rain coming back tonight. So we just be praying for each other in these climates. We're going to have a lot more coming as we get into this year, going into 2021. We just need to be praying for each other. I pray that the trumpet sound. That's what I'm praying. I hope the trumpet sound. So thank you, Father, for your love for us, your care for us. I bind Satan and all his evil angels, below, beyond, beneath, mentioned and unmentioned, known and unknown. We bind all evil spirits on assignment against us in every way. We ask for your Holy Spirit to come and cover your people. Give us encouragement, strength, wisdom. Oh, Father, direction, protection. Please just help us to get through these things coming on the earth. You said to pray that we'll be worthy to escape these things coming on the earth. So we thank you so much, Father, for being the God that you are all by yourself. And so I just want to say thank you for being a God by yourself, who protect us, who look after us, who help us with food, shelter, clothing, and breathing your air, and all the things you do for us, Father. We praise your wonderful name. So I'm going to go now, people, and I just hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed Wednesday night, and I'll see you guys on another video. Shalom, shalom. I love you guys so much. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yeah, it's a pretty long video today, but I hope you got a lot of information out of here to share with others. The links are always be in the description box. So I'm going to say shalom, shalom. I love you guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Shalom.